A couple of days ago, Electronic Arts had their earnings call. Now this happens once every quarter, and mainly it focuses on the performance of the company. What's done well in that quarter, what didn't do so well, and how that affects the company moving forwards. Now, as expected, there were many mentions of Star Wars Battlefront 2 in there. I think we all know why that might have been, but what I was more interested to hear was if there were any mentions at all of what's coming next for the Battlefield franchise. And we did get some interesting information. So let's check this out. Firstly then, EA confirmed that the next Battlefield game will be launching in October 2018. This follows the usual mainline sequence of releases for the Battlefield franchise. We have Battlefield 3 in October 2011, Battlefield 4 in October 2013, and Battlefield 1 in October 2016. It makes perfect sense considering the Battlefield franchise is one of the largest entities that EA holds onto to release it in the run-up to the holiday season. That makes sure it's in the best position for as many gamers as possible to buy the new game. Now, Battlefield Hardline was supposed to be an October release as well, but it was pushed back until a March release window. And speaking of games being pushed back, EA's new upcoming IP called Anthem is getting the same treatment, and it's had its release window moved from late 2018 to early 2019. And EA has said this is to ensure that Anthem was not crowded out by other releases in an already very popular window. There's nothing overly surprising here. EA did report some fairly favourable financial results from the last quarter, despite selling less copies of their headline game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, than they actually expected. It was their digital revenues that made up most of their revenue from the quarter. Things like FIFA Ultimate Team always makes a lot of money for EA, and so with performance going quite well, they likely feel justified in announcing one of their staple franchises is set to return in its usual window. That's of course Battlefield 2018, and with that new IP Anthem being pushed back, that kind of makes sense as well. Something brand new does need all the space it can get, especially when it's entering a market that's already dominated by the Destiny franchise. Now, knowing the release window of the next Battlefield game is of course quite exciting, but it's what EA went on to say later on in their earnings call that interested me the most here. With the rise of Battle Royale games in the past year, it's natural that EA is going to attract some kind of attention as a potential publisher looking to expand into that area. The Battlefield franchise is an extremely popular one, and the idea has already been floated around by the community that Battlefield titles could make for a very good destination for the Battle Royale formula. Now, in recent years, developers at DICE and Visceral Games, they've worked tirelessly to completely revolutionise the networking capabilities of Battlefield games. We've moved on from the days of 10 Hz tick rate servers, and now we're actually seeing with the competitive side of Battlefield, the Incursions client, the possibility of 120 Hz tick rate servers. The main game runs at 60 Hz tick rate on PC and on the smaller modes on console, and if you compare that with both Fortnite and PUBG, arguably the biggest two Battle Royale games right now, they have 17 Hz tick rate servers. And it's common that you see your shots not reward you with hit markers or kills when you can clearly see they connected with the target. Now, while it's possible to completely remove these annoyances from video games, latency is just a thing on the internet, Battlefield is in a much better position to, at least from a networking perspective, offer a very smooth and fair Battle Royale experience. Now, during the earnings call, EA CEO Andrew Wilson, he was questioned on a huge number of things, but he was also questioned on the success of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Fortnite. And here's what he had to say. In terms of PUBG, I think what you discover in this industry is a lot of great vectors that drive player engagement, and one of those is just innovation in the core gameplay mechanic. What the team with PUBG has done is really deliver a new level of innovation that changes the way people play first-person shooter games. And we are very respectful and complimentary with what they've been able to do. We've seen that continue with Fortnite. It's clearly a mode of play that the global FPS population is interested in, and given that we have some of the best shooters in the marketplace, you might expect that we are also thinking about new and innovative ways to play. Now that quote there from Andrew Wilson is kind of a little bit of marketing genius. What better way to talk about one of your top performing franchises? I'll just talk about it alongside the success stories like PUBG and Fortnite when I'm asked a question about PUBG and Fortnite. You can imagine how many news articles and YouTube videos are going to be created based off of the fact that he's spoken about Battle Royale and the Battlefield franchise in the same paragraph. There is no denying, however, that the Battle Royale section of the FPS market is now so huge that it's taken many players away from what I would consider standard first-person shooters. So it would only make sense that EA and DICE try and compete with that in some way with their own franchise. However, Mr. Wilson goes on to say that these new innovative ways to play do not necessarily translate into a PUBG replica inside the Battlefield universe. He says it does mean that the Battlefield team is looking at how they can innovate in every single aspect of the game, including core gameplay and map design. Now that is extremely telling. I think it's fairly clear that the team that made Battlefield 1 took a brand new approach to the tried and tested Battlefield formula. It's arguably the biggest transformation within the franchise since the days of Bad Company, and this transformation has changed the player base of the game quite drastically. The lackluster support of community-run servers has led many previous veterans of the franchise to move away or to simply return to Battlefield 4 for their fix. The inclusion of, for want of a better word, more casual features like elite classes and extremely powerful multi-seat vehicles, the behemoths, again were changes that many in the community did not really like or want to see in the game. But of course, we all know that games evolve and change over time. The step that DICE took from Refractor Engine Battlefield games to Frostbite Engine Battlefield games was huge, and the team chose to make another step like that from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. So if EA is mentioning that the DICE team working on the next Battlefield game is looking at how they can innovate in every aspect of the game, it's clear in my mind then that whatever DICE is working on now will be somewhat different to what we are seeing in Battlefield 1. The rise of games as a service and the fall of Season Pass supported games is another key factor here. You need to keep players engaged for longer within the same game now. Battlefield 1 failed miserably at keeping people entertained and interested when it mattered most, those 4 to 6 months after the launch of the game. During that time, virtually nothing noteworthy happened with the game, and players did leave in droves. It sounds like DICE is looking to ensure that that doesn't happen again with the next Battlefield game. In terms of the mention of map design, that again is an extremely important point. Battle Royale games have largely focused on higher player counts, bigger maps, and a variety of weapons and vehicles. Battlefield has always maxed out at 64 players, and their maps are built around a scenario of constant fighting. Maps are still large, and they can comfortably fit 64 players onto them, but they're not nearly as large as the maps that PUBG has, or that Fortnite has started with. If DICE is looking at how they can innovate with their map design, does that mean with the rise of Battle Royale type games, 1 versus 99 combat, that we can expect to see some fundamental change with Battlefield 2018? Perhaps the maps will be much, much larger, but have game modes using different sections of it to offer the best gameplay experience, whatever the mode you happen to be playing. Maybe if you're playing Battle Royale, it uses the entire map, Conquest uses a smaller section, Rush uses a more linear section, things like that. It's all worth thinking about, and the fact that Andrew Wilson has mentioned that in the earnings call, I'm expecting some big changes with Battlefield 2018. But with the upcoming launch of the Battlefield 1 Apocalypse DLC in February, well, we're in February now, so this month, we are moving closer and closer to some kind of announcement for Battlefield 2018. Battlefield 1 was revealed in early May 2016, so it's safe to assume we will see something similar happen for whatever is coming next. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section today on what EA has been saying in its earnings call. If anything, for me, it's just making me more intrigued to find out what it is that DICE is making. It doesn't sound like an iterative step from Battlefield 1, it sounds like another big leap forwards. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.